Good evening, guys. Happy Friday. Hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm going to be walking through a demo of Estuary Flow tonight. Uh, just walking through how to pull your YouTube data is the example that I'm going to use into a Azure SQL server. Um, so going to walk through that full pipeline, what that looks like, and then afterwards we'll go through some questions, just like our normal Friday Night Lives. Go through some questions, talk about whatever's on your mind tonight. So we're going to jump right into it. I am super excited about getting in here and showing you all how to do this. It's really a cool tool. Really makes pulling data from different data sources easy. I'm going to kind of show you at first kind of what the different sources and different destinations that you could use within Estuary Flow. And we're going to just jump right into it. I'm going to show my screen and we're going to walk through it. Hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving. And as we're going through this, feel free to ask any questions, whether it's related to what we're talking about or not. So, Estuary Flow. So when you go into Estuary Flow, when you go to estuary.dev, you get to this splash page, and it'll kind of tell you a little bit about it. There's no credit card required to set up a demo account. You get a 30-day free trial, and there's no cost to it. So it's really cool. It is a neat pipeline tool that you could use to create some data flows. It's really cool. I've really liked getting in here and playing with it. So as you see, I have a source right now. I've set up my own connection to my YouTube channel, and I'm actively pulling data from my YouTube statistics into a SQL Server database so that I could create my own analytics page. There's a lot that we see within our analytics, but I want to maybe look deeper into it and do some of my own analysis and see what I could get out of it. In addition, there's, like I said, you see I've got my YouTube analytics here set up for my source. Here's my different collections. So these are the different tables that I'm pulling from that YouTube source. You see my destination is my Azure SQL Server. And I've got an admin page with just some of my information here. But yeah, like I said, if anybody has any questions as I'm going through this, even if it's just about some general data engineering questions, pop them in the chat and I'll get to them as soon as I can. So let's start by adding a new flow. When you come in here, you could see this live demo, and it'll walk you through how to pull things. Again, there is a ton of different connectors in here. Let's do that. Let's do new capture. So again, to start off, it'll bring you to this welcome page. You go into sources, you click on new capture. And like I said, there are a ton of different connectors in here. You could connect to Snowflake, you could connect to a Maria database, you connect to a MongoDB, Postgres, SQL Server, ton of stuff in here. What really gets exciting is as we scroll down through here, you see that not just other SQL Server, but Bing Ads, is a big one that some businesses use. We've got Datadog, which is again, definitely a program that businesses use to monitor different systems and things like that. CSVs and Google Drive, ton of different connections in here. GitHub, GitLab, GA4, so Google Analytics 4. Again, Google Analytics 4 is something that we used at AT&T. So this is awesome to have this connector instead of having to create a Python script that's going through and using the API. Having these connectors that are already set up to use those tools and to be able to just click and choose the different resources within those APIs and tools that you may need is really awesome and speeds up your development. But I do want to scroll down through here just to show you. We've got HubSpot, Instagram, LinkedIn ads. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. MailChimp, Marketo, and these are popular business tools that businesses use. NetSuite is a huge thing. Having NetSuite in here and be able to connect to NetSuite without having to hit a bunch of APIs and write a bunch of custom Python scripts, and being able to just have a tool that natively connects to it is awesome. PayPal transactions. I mean, there's a ton of stuff in here. Salesforce, Salesforce is an important one. Everybody, almost every company uses Salesforce in some aspect. TikTok, for those that are maybe our creators out there, we've got TikTok, the YouTube analytics, just a ton of stuff, a wealth of stuff. And then obviously the normal things, the Amazon Dynamo database, and all the different databases, Google Sheets, SQL Server. I mean, just everything that you could think of from a normal data access standpoint, and then just a bunch of connectors for a bunch of different other integrations. So we're going to look at YouTube Analytics tonight and kind of show you how to walk through that and just how easy it is. So let's look at YouTube Analytics. We just click on that. Okay. And you could name your capture. Has to be unique. So we're going to just name it live demo. And the endpoint config is super simple. You just have to sign into your account. So it'll, click on sign in with Google. I'm going to click on my account that I use for that. You see that I've got a few different channels here. This one is the channel that you all know and love, the data engineering channel. And we're going to hit, it's going to tell you that I already have some access. I'm going to hit continue. And it's going to tell me authenticated. It is as easy as that to connect. There's no extra API steps, having to get some keys. You don't have to get any type of authentication or authorization. That's it. Just log into it. Hit next. It'll take a second. Takes a second to crank through. It's going through, kind of reading the channel, reading the analytics, and then it shows you all the different, basically different tables that you can pull from. And these are kind of all the various API destinations that you could pull from. So you look at the collection. Great. This is channel annotations, and you can kind of see, okay, this is the field. This is the pointer, which is kind of where the API is pulling the data from. This is, the type. So this can be null, and it's a string. So you kind of see that in there. If it were like, here's an integer. So this is an integer for the date. Again, most of these are strings. Some of them can be null. Some of them cannot be null. But if you want to click through here, then you can kind of see, here's a click-through rate, comes through as a number. You see these come through as integers. So it gives you a ton of information as you're looking to pull through different things. So you could go through and evaluate that. You could edit any piece of this. Again, it kind of gives you kind of the schema. You could edit these if you wanted to. My recommendation is these are coming through from the source. So from YouTube in this channel, in this specific instance, and it's probably pretty accurate as far as what it's pulling from. When you get to the point where you're pushing data to, you might want to change some things depending on your configuration, but I wouldn't play a whole lot with editing the source schema. You could hit test, and it's going to go through and test. This is going to come back successful again because we just had to log into the account to authenticate. So there wasn't any additional authentication that was needed. And it'll spin for a second, and it says success. So we'll hit close. We're going to hit save and publish. It's going to publish this connection basically for our source. It'll take a few seconds, and then we'll skip over to our destinations, and I'll show you how to connect to a Azure SQL Server from within Estuary Flow. Again, I've only been playing with this tool just a little bit, just for like the last week or so, and I thought it would be a great demo for tonight for our live session. Hey Kumar, how are you doing tonight? I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. So we're going to jump into our destination here, and you see that I've already got a connection set up. I want to walk you through what this looks like. So I'm going to hit new materialization again. On everything that you could think of is here. All the big things that you would need, even Cosmos DB, if you're pushing stuff to a Cosmos DB, if you want to just push stuff to CSV files and cloud storage, you push stuff back out to Parquet files. I mean, all kinds of stuff, SQL Server, SQLite. If you just had an on-prem SQL Server, you could do that. If you want to push stuff out into Databricks, into like into Delta or something, then you can do that. But in Snowflake, obviously a big one, directly into a S3 bucket and a CSV file. Ton of different options here. Google Sheets, Google Docs, just a new connector. If something's not here, you click on new connector and request a new connector for your system. It'll go out to contact Estuary and you could send a request. We're going to do SQL Server. And we're going to say new SQL Server. And we're going to name it live demo, live SQL Server demo. If you try to put spaces in here, just by default, it's going to put underscores because you can't have spaces in the names of things. It's going to ask for my address here. I'm going to just pop this over here so that I could grab my information from my Azure SQL Server and not show the world what it looks like. I guess I'll show the world what it looks like because it's going to show up on the endpoint, but it's okay. Let's go here. And maybe this is good to show you too. So when you're connecting to your endpoint, hopefully I'm sharing my whole screen. Let me look. I covered up my StreamYard. Yeah, no, hold on. I'm going to share my entire screen. That's what I want. Share. So this is the Azure portal. So for those of you that haven't played a whole lot with the Azure portal, by default, you'll have some of your recent resources here. So you'll see my subscription and my databases, my ADF, my Fabric instance. This is a resource group here, GDE Dev. This is my ADLS. So a handful of different things that I've recently connected to. To get the connection information for what we need for Estuary Flow, we're going to go into this GDE database SQL Server. We're going to come down to settings, or networking is really what I'm looking for. Let's go to SQL databases, go here. Connection strings. So this will give you connection string. What you're looking for here is what I really care about right now is this part, this GDE database.windows.net. And that's going to be my address. For my user, I'm going to use that. For my password, I think I remember my password. I think it's that. We'll find out in a minute. And then obviously GDE dev, GDE, just standing for Gamble Data Engineering, and then my dev database. And then you create a database schema. So whatever your schema is that you want to create here for what you're integrating with is what you want to put here. You could put staging if everything that you're going to be doing here is going to go into your staging schema. The important piece here is that schema needs to also be created in your SQL Server as well. So YouTube is already in there. I'm going to say YouTube live, just so that I could do a different one. And then I'm going to also show you how to create that schema in your SQL Server. And so I'm going to do that using Azure Data Connection Error. Azure Data Studio, but I need to connect to my account. Oh no. Okay. I reached my limit. So we're going to just use YouTube. There's some options here to create a DBT cloud job trigger. So if you're using DBT and you want to use a DBT cloud job trigger, you could do that. If you need to create any network tunnels, then you can create that. In your source collections, you can set your source collections, and we want to add our source collections, and we're just going to add a couple here and hit continue. And we're going to hit next. And we're going to hit save and publish. And that's it. It is as simple as that. And it's going to error because I've hit my free limit for the month for my for my SQL Server, probably because I created this connection. So it's giving me an issue. Well, yeah, see, I hit my monthly free amount for November, and it's paused for the remainder of the month. So it'll come back on Sunday. But that's really all you have to do to create it. I'll show you that I've already got, you see that I've already got this set up. It's written, 9,000 records, 69 channel cards. You kind of monitor here. So it's really cool. Sorry that it broke. Well, sorry that I ran out of free space in my database. Okay, we're going to edit this. Oh no. Just want to, can I delete it? Delete. But pretty straightforward, really easy again. And again, once you're in there, then your data is going to be flowing into your SQL Server. And again, it's off now because of my limit, but it's really as easy as that. It's really easy to use, so it's really cool. So that's Estuary Flow. I think I've failed y'all tonight. So really simple, really cool. I really like Estuary Flow. Again, it's super simple to navigate, a ton of different tools and resources. Yeah, it was really cool. So that's really what I wanted to show you all tonight. And I hate that I had some issues with it, but it really is as simple as that. Not a whole lot to it. Stop sharing. So think I lost everybody because I had some issues. But if anybody does jump on, be sure to pop your questions in the chat. If you have any questions about data engineering, if you have specific questions about estuary flow, I'm happy to walk through that. If you have questions about just general data engineering questions, SQL or Python or other data tools, Azure, then pop those in the chat, and happy to answer whatever you got. This might be a really short live session this week because there's not a whole lot of people on. So might not even, yeah. Any questions? Just pop them in the chat. Happy to talk through things, talk through, again, Azure or Estuary or whatever you got. I'm going to go back to maybe sharing my screen. There we go. So, one of the big things when you are creating new resources and new tools is making sure that you're monitoring your spend. And you could do that in Azure by going to your subscription, and you could see your spending rate forecast. So, important thing to understand, especially for new businesses or new data engineers that you are getting into Azure and creating Azure subscriptions and resources, being able to kind of come in here. Again, you see it in your account, you'll see your spending rate forecast. It'll give you some costs by resource. These are important things for data engineers and data architects to understand, to watch for. Because as you spin up new resources, especially if you don't have any experience with Azure, it's important to keep an eye on these things. You see that I've just got 7 cents. And again, it's because I really locked down my subscription to make sure that I don't incur any charges, because I just use it for training and demos. I don't want to incur any charges here, or at least very, very little charges. And so you'll see that it's just 7 cents, which is really, really minimal. But there's a ton of things that you could do to really configure your subscription, to look at your budgets, look at your, you could see your manager subscription here. But you could create alerts when you hit different thresholds. So you just go out in an alert and create an alert type, whether it's anomaly, well, can't say that word tonight, but if it's an error, then you could create that alert. If and where is it? There's cost by resource, so we could see our resource groups and look at our cost analysis and kind of see which of our groups are incurring that 7 cent charge. And we'll see that it's looking like the fabric resource. So probably need to suspend my fabric resource. So I actually think it incurred that 7 cent charge before I suspended it. I do have it suspended now. So this way you could kind of see what resources are incurring any additional charges, or maybe really are part of your big costs for your subscription. So important to know where to go in here and how to find that. You'll see that my SQL Server database is 0, again, because in that SQL Server, I have it set to shut off when it hits the 32 gigabyte limit for the month. So important to kind of set those thresholds, especially if you're just using it for training. If you're using it for your business, then set alerts, right? You don't want to shut off your business when you hit a certain, threshold, but you might want to be alerted to so that hey, you're getting ready to go over this limit, and so that you could come in here and take a look at it and see why, if it's unexpected. Um, so again, if you have any questions as I'm going through this, pop them in the chat. I see that there's some people on. Happy to answer any questions about Azure or data engineering um, or any of the data type things. Again, you could create cost alerts here. Under monitoring, you click on cost alerts. So, you could put a custom message in here. Hi, we've gone over your limit. And hit create, and it'll create the rule. Hit some alert rules. We could add here. Again, you go to budgets and create some budgets. So you create ADF budget, monthly, quarterly, annually. Creation date is going to be November 2024. And we could create a threshold, right? So if you want to spin up a resource and you're wanting to make sure that you don't go over $300 for the month or $10,000 for the month, whatever the case might be, then you could create that here. And I could say like $50, right? And set this alert. So actual percent of budget. So we could set some alerts here so that when I hit 75% of my budget, then we could do stuff. But first we have to create a group. So resource group, I'll put that, region, sure. Display name, action group, notifications, resource manager role. We could even create SMS, right? Name, owner, create. And I have to change my subscription to be able to use resource groups, but because I just have a personal subscription. But basically, that would be how you set up your action groups, and then you could add that action group to the budget, and then you could set that. Here's my email. There we go. Let's see if it'll let me. There it goes. So then I have my budget set up for $50 a month, and it'll cut off at $50. And that way I won't run over it. So important to set up those things. Again, if you're a business, $50 is probably not going to cut it. You'll need something bigger than that. But if you're an individual, you might want to set it at $50 a month or $100 a month. Whatever your personal training kind of budget is, you'll want to be sure to set those things up. I have mine set up at 0 again right now. Obviously, I just upped it to 50, but I have a lot of things set to just be the free tier so that I'm not spending a whole lot of money here. Because again, I don't make any money off of anything that I do on YouTube right now. So I'm trying to limit my own personal costs. aside from some of the other video editing subscriptions that I have. But yeah, so that's how you do that. Um, does anybody have any questions on how to create resources in Azure or how to set up these alerts and limits or any general data engineering questions? Pop them in the chat. Happy to talk through them. Yeah, there, or for those of you that missed the my debacle of my Estuary Flow demo. Happy to answer any questions on Estuary Flow as well. For those of you that may not know, Estuary Flow is like an ETL pipeline tool similar to ADF, or for those of you that may have used Stitch before, similar to that. Um, there's a ton of tools out there that are kind of similar, where you have a bunch of native connectors to different systems. For Estuary Flow, they have a native connector to your YouTube analytics, and so it's easy to pull data from YouTube analytics into a local SQL server or into your Azure SQL server, which was the example that I was using. So it's a really cool tool. Again, there's a ton of different tools out there. There's FiveTran. We could go back and share my screen here, and we could look at FiveTran. So you get FiveTran. Let's see if this was my, I don't remember which. Nope, wrong one. This one. So FiveTran, again, they're charging for transformation starting January 1st, 2025. But you have 5,000 model runs to use before it starts charging you. And then even after that, it's 1 cent per model run, but under 30,000. So, I mean, and there's not a whole lot of expense here. So again, for a business, then there's going to be a little bit more, right? You're going to have a little bit more recurrence, a little bit more traffic, but you'll see that in here, there's similarly a ton of connections. You see, I had originally set one up to Facebook ads, one for Google Analytics, FiveTran metadata. So there's a ton of different connectors in here as well. Really cool, some really cool connectors that you get set up and use. You could set up your destination for your local SQL server, or for like Synapse. Like I turned off the Synapse because it was charging me too much when I was playing with it. It was costing me too much when I was playing with it. So we'll delete that. And then we'll still have the connection to my local SQL server. I wonder if I could test my connection, if it'll work. I set this up a while back, so we'll see if it works. But basically, the theory would be, yeah, I bet my host has changed. Like these are the thing to set up here. Like my host has changed because I'm on a rotating IP address, and so I'll have to go in and change that. But you'll see that it's, once you identify what your IP address is, for your local SQL server, you put it in here, put your port number in here. Generally, your port number for a local SQL server is going to be 1433. Your username and your password that you set up specifically for your use for this. I would recommend setting one up specifically for whatever the ETL tool is that you're using. The database name, whether you're going to connect via SSH tunnel or directly. You could choose a CIDR range. So you could just use this for your whitelisted IP addresses that you're going to allow through, for specifically for FiveTran. Um, you could unlock this feature for if it's a cloud service provider. In this case, it's not. Um, my time zone's actually Eastern. And then you would save and test. And we know that it's not going to connect because I need to go out and get my other IP address. But basically that's all you have to do. It's not super complicated. The probably most complicated part is identifying your IP address for your local SQL server. Um, and like I said, it's mine's changed, so I'll have to go out and get that. But I don't want to share it with the world because I don't want a bunch of people trying to connect to my local computer. Um, but really cool. Again, bunch of different resources here, and FiveTran is also another one of those cool ETL tools that you could go out and use if you're just playing around with different ETL tools. There's plenty of companies that use these type of tools out there, especially like SMBs that they don't have the budget to be able to spend on a larger, ETL tool. They need something a little bit more cost effective, um, that'll get them what they need in an easy way. Again, these tools out there are easy ways to create connections to a lot of the um, different tools and resources that businesses need. Again, for Estuary Flow, you have a native connector to NetSuite. Let's take a look here and see what connectors we have. We'll explore all 500 connectors. For this this is FiveTran, right? And so Salesforce, again, big one. Amazon S3 buckets, the FiveTran platform, Shopify. These are big ones especially for online businesses. Google Ads, Facebook Ads, uh, Google Analytics 4. Again, that's a big one for a lot of companies. They migrated from GA3 to GA4 about a year and a half ago, I guess. No, maybe just last summer, a year ago this summer. So GA4 is a big one. You could create a connection to an RDS Postgres database that's on your AWS account, HubSpot, Azure SQL Server database. QuickBooks is a big one. Workday is a big one. These are really big, popular um, tools and resources that businesses use. Instagram for Business, Stripe, Pinterest ads. There's NetSuite again. NetSuite's a big one, and just a ton of resources. Again, there's 500 in here. Ton of stuff that you could connect to. Definitely more. You sort of A to Z. Definitely more connectors. FiveTran's a little bit more of a little bit more mature program. They've been around for a little bit longer than Estuary. Estuary's just not been around as long to have all those tools. But still a great tool. Again, there's a ton of resources here too. Again, not 500, but they're building on it. And you could request specific connectors. Still has a ton of tools, and again, cost effective. So if you ever have a tool that you'd like to see demoed, either during our Friday Night Lives or during a recording that I do and put out, be sure to let me know. Let me know either in the chat when we're talking on Friday nights, or let me know in the community section of the YouTube channel, and and I'm happy to cover those things. In addition, for those of you that are experienced data engineers or have done a career shift from another career into data engineering, I'm always looking for people to interview during these live sessions so that you could share your experience with the community. Um, I'm in the process of talking to somebody that I hope to the stars will align and we could get something scheduled over the next few weeks. Uh, but looking forward to getting him on here and talking to him about his transition from data analytics into data engineering. I've talked a lot on these live sessions about how a lot of times businesses don't let entry level people into directly into their data engineering, right? And so data analytics may be your foot in the door, even QA, right? So don't limit when you're looking out there for different jobs and different opportunities. Don't limit yourself by just searching for data engineering. Be sure that you're looking at those data analytics jobs, that you're looking at QA jobs, even DBA positions, right? Um, Back in the day, the DBAs were the ones that did like everything uh, that had to do with a database, and so DBA positions are not necessarily a bad thing to get into. So let's take a look. Um, so again, we've talked about um, Azure and kind of how to set some limits. We've talked about FiveTran and Estuary Flow. Um, and just the different things that you could do with those. We'll do new destination. Let's do a new destination to we'll do Amazon S3 Parquet. Let's see if we can get this set up. Oh, that's gonna be I don't want to share my keys and stuff. Free real time. Live demo. Authenticated. Add the connections. Just do the channel basic one, so that's not a ton. Information about fresh. Oh, point config. Yeah, because I have to set up. Let me grab this over here. Let me go out and grab an endpoint to a Google Doc. New Google Sheets. Save. Just copy link. Do that. And this is something that you go through, right? I mean, this is real life. Caller does not have permission. So let's change that. Oh yeah, because it's private only to me. So share with others. Call this estuary test, save, and change this to anyone with the link. Done. Access is updated. Share. Editor. Copy link. So test. Hopefully this will work. Test successful. Close. See all that. Cool. Save and publish. And the theory would be that when it's done, it will set up that connection to Estuary, and we will be able to see data in the sheet. Close. Cool. Published less than a minute ago. That should be enabled. Enabling. And it'll probably take a little bit, especially for the first push. But then we'll probably be able to go and open up the Google Sheet and see where it dumped that that data in there. So again, any questions, be sure to pop them in the chat. I see that there's a handful of people that have joined. If you have any questions about Estuary or about data engineering, pop them in the chat. Happy to walk through stuff. Happy to answer any questions. For those of you that have been here, you know I'm very much an open book, and I'll share anything about my experience or anything that I know about data engineering that I've learned over the last 25 years I've been doing it. For those of you that may be new, I've been a data engineer since 2000. So for just short of 25 years. And have done everything from being an individual contributor to being a director of data and analytics for AT&T, as well as done some individual consulting as well for various companies. So I'm an open book. If you have any questions, just pop them in the chat. Happy to answer what you got. So let's see. Okay, so docs read 90,000, data read. Let's see if we have data in our sheet. Look at that. Okay, so now we see that we have data in our estuary test sheet. So this channel basic A2, and we see the date, channel ID, video ID, live or on demand, subscribe status. So these are the viewers. This is the viewer information from the YouTube channel. The country code where they came from, and then some of various flags through here, average view duration, just a ton of different flags. This is card teaser impressions. So this is kind of the different, sometimes you'll see at the top of, on this side, at the top of YouTube videos, you'll see like those little links to other videos, and those are called cards. So card teaser, those card teaser impressions. This is the date, time the flow was published that I created in there, number of likes, number of read views, read watch line, share, number of times that video was shared, subscribers gained. So again, a ton of statistics that you get from your YouTube channel. So really cool. Then you could take this information, connect it to a Power BI report, and like this will continue to feed data, right? This isn't going to just stop at once. Once you have this flow set up, it's going to continue to feed data into that Google Sheet, like a streaming data set. So it's really cool. Again, really a great, see, now it turned green because I have a connection set up. Doc's written 45,000. So again, this is probably why I ran out of space in the other destination. Um, but 9,000 to 93 docs read. So really cool, really easy to set up. Um, really like Estuary. Glad we could get that to work to a destination tonight. Um, and again, really easy to set up a connection to a Google Doc too. Awesome. So, any questions about Estuary Flow? Hey, Fancy. Um, and Azure and AWS, really easy to set. Can you do the same things and Azure and AWS? Yeah, should be able to connect to ADLS containers. um, so we should be able to connect an ADLS connector. So let's do that. So I don't know if we can. I don't know if there's a connector to ADLS. You connect to a Azure SQL Server, but not to ADLS container. That's interesting. Like you connect, like I've got a connection set up for my SQL Server. And again, you may have mentioned at the beginning, but I ran out of my monthly free free allowance for my Azure SQL Server, so we're gonna skip that part. Because something that not offered with other platforms. I'm actually using it because it was a new. I hadn't seen Estuary before. So it's the ease of the interface is nice. Honestly, the ease of FiveTran is equally nice if you've used FiveTran. I like these tools. FiveTran, Estuary. There's another one called Stitch. Um, are all really easy tools to use and similar. They're each pretty similar in how you set up your source and your destination. Um, FiveTran honestly probably has the most connectors natively. Um, Estuary's relatively new to the market, so they have a handful of um, connectors, and they're really easy, but it's limited still. Like we saw, there's no ADLS container. There is S3 containers for AWS, um, and there's various. You see, these blue things are AWS connectors to various things in AWS for Postgres and for RDS on SQL Server, for SQL Server, Aurora for Postgres. So there's those. These octagons are GCP, so they're Google Cloud stuff. So there's a lot of those. You see GCS for GCS Parquet, Maria database, Mongo database. So there's a ton here, but it is, yeah. To answer your question directly, it is offered on several other programs. Like I said, I kind of walked through the FiveTran a little bit too. FiveTran is also equally as easy to set up those connectors and those destinations. All these tools are kind of similar. Like my recommendation to those of you that are aspiring data engineers, and are looking for a tool to that you may have seen on a job rec, you know, go find that tool if they have a demo, use that demo resource and go out and learn how to use it. Um, and a lot of times, then a lot of things that you could create using a local SQL server, so you don't have to worry about cost with a potential um, cloud service. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's just a ton of resources out there. There's a ton of different tools out there too with native connectors. And I'll say that it depends on how much control you want in your flow, because even with like ADF, right, there's a ton of connectors. So if you're in ADF, um, whether you're using ADF, FiveTran, Flow, there's so many out there to choose from. It really just depends. But they get increasingly more difficult as far as ease of interface. Um, FiveTran, Estuary, um, Stitch, they're all super, super easy when it comes to interface, and they're all kind of low code, no code tools. You don't have to have um, any type of skill or background or education on any programming or anything like that. They're all kind of low code, no code tools that you can really get a lot of use out of. And then you have ADF, that's a little bit more complex, right? You have to set up some security here. You have to set up, again, you still have a ton of different resources natively. They're different, right? But we still have HubSpot. We still have um, Salesforce. We still have Marketo. The big hitters are still in here. What you don't have in here that you do have in like FiveTran and Estuary is NetSuite. So there's no native NetSuite connection in ADF, but there is in FiveTran, right? We see NetSuite Suite Analytics, and in Flow, we see for our sources, we see NetSuite, which is an important one. NetSuite is something that uh, a lot of companies have for their financial piece, for their finances, and so that's an important one to have. Estuary has it. It's one of the few. Estuary and FiveTran have it. Again, one of the few um, that do, and again, ADF doesn't. So, and so that's a big one. That's a big shortfall of ADF. Not to say that you couldn't get that data with ADF, right? You could still use the REST APIs for NetSuite to connect to that data and pull that data that way. But definitely would be more complex than the ease of using FiveTran or Estuary to connect to that data, because it already normalizes it for you, and you don't have to worry about that piece. Great question, Fancy. Thank you. You always ask awesome questions. Thank you for jumping on and asking. Uh, awesome. What great questions, Kumar, Fancy. Thank you for jumping on. Thank you for being dedicated on a Thanksgiving weekend and jumping on with me. But if anybody else has any other questions, feel free to ask. Whether it's about ADF or Azure or one of the other ETL tools. Happy to answer any of the data engineering questions. So thank you. Awesome. Well, if there aren't any other questions, we are just past 11 o'clock my time. Um, if you have any other questions, and if you ever have any suggestions or feedback, you could reach me at chris.gamble at gambledataengineering.com. My email's on the homepage of the YouTube channel. You could reach me at gambledataengineering.com slash contact. And there's a contact me page there where you could ask me whatever you want to ask. And then of course our community page if you ever have any questions. But yeah, and then we do these Friday night lives for those of you that may be on that. This is your first time finding the page. We do these on Friday nights. I generally will go through some subject at the beginning for the first 20-30 minutes, and then we'll answer any questions that you may have about data engineering after that. Whether it be something about the topic that we did cover or any other general data engineering questions. A lot of times we get into more general interview type questions, or we'll get into some general data engineering career type questions. So important to jump on and ask those questions if you have any. But trying to be here to help out as best I can. And we also have a Discord page, a Discord channel. So for those of you that want to jump on that Discord channel, you could jump on there and ask questions as well amongst each other, as well as to me, and trying to build up those communities. Our community is continuing to grow. We hit over 600 subscribers this week, so super excited about that. And I hope I continue to get feedback that people get value out of the different videos that I do. So hopefully y'all are continuing to get value out of the videos that I'm doing. I've had a super long day today, so I'm gonna wrap it up here in a second. But let me bring it home here. But cool. So again, thank you all for jumping on, and I'm gonna let you go on this Thanksgiving weekend. Again, in the next couple weeks, I'll be doing just a live stream interview like I've done with CJ and with Joseph before, talking through his career change, moving from data analytics into data engineering. So super excited about that. They've been in data engineering for about 8 months and have about 10 months, I think, and then have been in data as a whole for like 8 years. So super excited to have them on. Really looking forward to that interview, and hopefully we'll get the stars to align and get that done here in the next few weeks. So thank you all again for jumping on, and I will talk to you again next Friday night.